Hello everyone, how's it going? We are doing microfinance in emerging markets, and I'm Nick.
I'm Jill.
I'm Kristen.
And I'm Drew.
So we're going to go through a little bit of the introduction, the history, the advantages and disadvantages, and the civic engagement behind it. So first introduction is, what is microfinance? So microfinance is the supply of loans, savings, and other basic financial services to the poor. So this is implemented to help the poor stray away from their informal savings, such as livestock, commodities, community pooling, and things kind of like that. It really tries to get away from informal saving because those are unsafe ways to save money. This allowed the poor to have access to credit, savings, insurance, and other financial services as well. Microfinance institutions, normally called MFIs, are organizations that provide microfinance services that range from small nonprofit organizations to large commercial banks. So a little bit into the history. So right here, this is Dr. Muhammad Yunus. He was credited for the person that started microfinance, and what he did is he experimented lending small amounts of money to poor women in the village of Jobra, Bangladesh. And so Dr. Yunus also founded Grameen Bank, which is a bank that committed to microfinance services in 1983, and he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for this. Kind of going on in history, in the 1950s and 1970s, the governments and donors in the emerging markets provided subsidized agricultural credit to small farmers to increase productivity and incomes in their families. During the 1980s, this is when microenterprise credit provided loans to poor women to invest in tiny businesses to raise household incomes and provide them jobs as well. These loans were provided by non-governmental organizations, which are called NGOs. Later in the 1990s, NGOs were transformed into real financial institutions to access on-lend client services. So there's also another pioneer in this sector. His name was Akhtar Hamid Khan. So in the 1970s, a new wave of microfinance initiatives introduced many new innovations into the sector. Many pioneering enterprises began experimenting with loaning to the underserved people. The main reason why microfinance is dated to the 1970s is that programs could show that people can be relied on to repay their loans, and that it's possible to provide financial services to poor people through market-based enterprises without subsidy. Shore Bank was the first microfinance and community development bank founded in 1974 in Chicago, and that would be the first pioneer bank to do this as well.
Now for the benefits of microfinance. As fellow human beings, many believe it's our civic duty to help those in need of financial assistance. Unlike most formal financial institutions, microfinance institutions allow low-income individuals a chance at lifting themselves out of poverty. This is true especially within developing nations, since a small sum of money can go a long way. Typically, banks do not lend any amount to individuals with little or no assets. However, microfinance institutions believe that small loans can help build savings and credit. Also, microfinance institutions have proven to possess high repayment rates. This is because they target female borrowers who are statistically less likely to default on loans than men. Third, microfinancing enables families to keep their children in school rather than force them to drop out and take up low-paying jobs. Additionally, the extra funds provided by microfinance institutions allow poor individuals in developing nations better access to clean water and other resources. Lastly, funds received from microfinance institutions provide people with more opportunities for employment as well as for a sustainable lifestyle. For example, just a small loan of $100 in an emerging market could be enough to launch a small business. Now for some success stories of microfinance. As Nick mentioned, one success story for microfinance is the Grameen Bank in Bangladesh. This institution was formed out of a project providing small loans to women in the village of Jobra. With these small loans, women were not only able to provide for their families, but also reduce the inequality gap between men and women. To the right is a picture of a woman named Marta. Through the use of microfinance, Marta took out a bank loan and was able to pay for materials for her loom. She sells her products in the local market and provides for her 3 children. Also, to the left here is Asa. Asa serves tea in a grocery store that she owns by herself thanks to her microfinancing loan. So despite all the benefits that Jill just mentioned, a lot of people sold out the effectiveness of microfinance in helping to reduce poverty, and some even say the results are doing just the opposite. Over the years, has had a series of controversial events that have led to its backlash. After launching investigation and accusing Yunus of evading taxes, the Bangladesh Prime Minister accused microfinance of sucking blood from the poor in the name of poverty alleviation. The major backlash started in 2007 when Banco Compartamos, a Mexican microfinance bank, transformed itself from being a non-profit organization into a for-profit organization. Critics argued that this transformation into a for-profit went against the core objective of microfinance, which was to reduce poverty. Soon, many companies followed this lead, seeing the world of microfinance as a way to gain profits. Some companies like Barclays, Citigroup, and General Electric initiated microfinance projects that gained from lending small amounts of capital to so-called unbankables. A shocking consequence is that in 2010, over 200 over-indebted citizens of India committed suicide after aggressive techniques were used to pressure them into paying back the money that they couldn't afford. It has been quoted that in India, sometimes a loan taken to save a life can end up taking a life in the debt-stricken villages. Another big critic is the high interest rates microfinance institutions charge. This seems counteractive considering the clients that they're lending to cannot afford these high interest rates. Banco Compartamos came under fire for its shocking annual percentage rate of 75 to 100%. The last big critic is the fact that it is very unlikely that there will be a Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg in all these villages that microfinances are operating in, meaning that there are a lot of entrepreneurs that can't handle the money that they're given, they can't make a success out of it. And to help understand the negative impacts, you can compare India's microfinance crisis to that of the 2008 financial crisis here in the United States, where finance companies threw cheap and easy loans at home buyers until prices crashed and borrowers were unable to sell their homes or pay their debts. However, the difference is that in India, the citizens are even poorer and they don't have things like Social Security to fall back on.
Since our class does cover the civic engagement requirement for our school, we thought we'd tie into how this relates to us. The definition of civic engagement is individual and collective actions designed to identify and address issues of public concern. Microfinance ties this to our class to the adoption of financial services and banking services in low-income areas. Poor people with access to savings, credit, insurance, and other financial services are more resilient and better able to cope with everyday crises they face. Access to credit allows people to take advantage of economic opportunities, and reliable sources of credit provide a fundamental basis for planning and expanding business activities. So to conclude, we took 4 of the main things from microfinance that benefit our society. The first is empirical evidence shows that among the poor, those participating in microfinance programs who had access to financial services were able to improve their well-being both at the individual and the household level much more than those who did not have access to financial services. Second, it empowers women. It's mostly targeted towards poor women. Many qualitative and quantitative studies have documented how access to financial services has improved the status of women within their family and their community. Households are able to send more children to school for longer periods and to make greater investments in their children's education. By reducing the vulnerability and increasing earnings and savings, financial services allow poor households to make the transformation from everyday survival to planning for the future.
So we all want to thank you for watching our video this afternoon, or whenever you watched it. For additional information, we found this pretty cool video on YouTube we'd like to show so you guys can get more information on microfinance and how it benefits our society.
Around the world, billions of people are living without access to the financial services that many of us take for granted. Without access to loans, savings accounts, insurance, and fund transfers, the obstacles to overcoming poverty or attaining financial stability can be insurmountable. There's a movement underway to provide better financial services to people that banks don't serve. These services are collectively called microfinance. One of the most powerful facets of microfinance is microcredit, or small loans. Microfinance institutions in many countries offer loans of a few $100s at a time to people in need. Sometimes, this is all it takes to help a person become profitably self-employed. Their business can provide valuable goods and services to their community, and proceeds from their business can support them and their family and allow them to pay back their loan. Loans are also sometimes used for housing, education, or to create other opportunities for people to improve their lives. Microfinance institutions can also provide savings accounts and insurance to their clients, allowing them to manage risk more effectively. If bad weather, illness, or other unforeseen events disrupt a client's business, savings or insurance can help keep their livelihood intact. While microfinance can be very successful in combating poverty, it isn't a complete solution. Other tools, such as literacy classes, investments in infrastructure, and legal reforms are also very important. Thanks for watching this introduction to microfinance. To learn more and find out how you can help, visit www.kiva.org/about.